Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday, you made it through another week. We have an absolutely beautiful day here today. It must be about 70 degree, perfect weather, a nice breeze. It's just a lovely day. But we have a lot of things that we have to get to downstairs, a few moshes that we missed out on. Let's get downstairs, see what we can do. You know, there are 12 principles that the Boy Scouts live by. We call it the law. And we recite it before every meeting. It goes, Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And I think I've taken the thrifty thing a little too far because, believe it or not, thrifty, I'm big on that thrifty and frugal part. And let me tell you what I'll show you. You know, years ago, being thrifty wasn't considered, you know, there's a difference between thrifty and cheap, okay? And frugal and cheap. That's a whole different thing, but years ago, being thrifty, I remember like things you know, when you're a teenager and you're looking for certain girls to date or whatever, and you'd say, oh, she's really good looking. And then, you know, my father or my uncle would say, forget about that. Find a girl that knows how to manage $1. And it's so true, isn't it? When you get older, you start to realize that, you know, we weren't looking for the right things back then. Okay, so here's what I felt like doing today. You know, I've had this for a while. What happened was, you know, I collect light bulbs and things like that. I ordered these light bulbs. These are LED light bulbs. It's a certain kind of light bulb that they use, these long LEDs, and they're really nice. This is only 1 watt, but it throws a lot of electricity, a lot of light lumens out, and it's a nice little bulb, but this one came broken in the package through shipping. So I contacted them. They sent me another one, but, you know, I said, man, you know, it still works. And I, you know, being thrifty, I said, let me see if I can just, all it's missing was the glass globe that was around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and just put this in. I want to see how long this thing lasts, so I'm going to use this as an experiment. And first thing I'm going to do is remove this. Is very sharp. This thin tempered glass is really sharp. So we're going to remove this glass around the bottom here, and then we're going to hook it up to a socket. A little embarrassing, but under this bench here, you can see over here, this is from stuff that was my great-grandfather's and all that stuff, and everything's marked down there in old boxes. And I was looking in the electrical because, like I said, you know, they never threw anything away, but I needed a piece of this here to do this project, and of course I had it in here. But this is just some of the boxes that are marked, you know, electrical. Do you know what I mean? So look at this. We were talking about the wire nuts the other day, and somebody says, you ever save them? You ever reuse them? I do. And here, this is the one here, because this is pretty decent, because this one's a copper insert with the Bakelite outside. And let's see if we can if I can get this to focus. We'll see what this is on here. Yeah, you can see here, it's Ideal. Now, a few of the electricians on the that follow were saying Ideal is the one to go for. So if you're going for wire nuts, try and get the Ideal. Everybody loves them. But look at this here. American Hard Rubber Company. That was the one up the street here. This was probably their little ID tag. Probably had a radioactive thing. I got some old solder in here. I mean, you know, I saved this stuff. This is the porcelain rings or ceramic rings I was telling you about that, you know, I don't know. See what I'm talking about when you get a lot of junk that just that you accumulate. See why we needed that piece, because see here, and this is how this works. You take this is a standard thread for electricians, for lamps and things like that. It screws right into there. You have this nut that'll tighten up on here, and Bob's your uncle. You got a lamp. Now I'm looking around for a base for that jar to put in, and then I said, look at this over here. You know, when you first get one of these lathes, you know, the first thing you do is you do a lot of turning of, you know, bowls, wooden bowls and pens and things like that. But you know, you make wooden bowls, but, you know, nobody uses wooden bowls. I mean, you can't put anything, you know, with liquid in them. I don't know. It's just because it's fun to do, but they're really... So maybe this is made out of 3 pieces of wood. You can see here the seams, but if I can enlarge that, I can make this as the base. So let's okay, now we're going to want this lid here to fit in this recess here, okay? But it's, you can see it's just, it's not wide enough to fit in there. So we're going to have to widen that recess in here. And it's a little tricky to do. There's a bunch of ways you could do it. The way I figured to do it is, first thing we're going to do is this is called a faceplate adapter. You can screw it onto any piece of wood and make a faceplate, and that's what we did here. And you put that onto the lathe here, spin it on, Okay. Now what we do is we're going to take this and we're going to place this against here. That's a flat area. And then we're going to use a live center. This is called a live center because it spins like here. And you can see it already has a divot in there. So we'll put that right in there, lock it down, tighten this up a little bit. And there we go. Now we could spin. Now what we'll have to do is we'll just take a tool and we'll enlarge that opening a little bit. Now this is really unorthodox the way to do it. But I have this long... tip point with a square point here. And I'm going to do is I'll put the steady rest up here, place this in here, and just try and we're only opening it up a little bit. And you can see that it spins here. And then we'll just touch it lightly over here. And then we'll get it nice and squared up, and hopefully that'll be good. Okay, here we go. We opened it up a little bit, and we put that in there. Fits nice. And we're going to screw that in there. But that's looking pretty good. Let's get finished with it. Now we want to drill a hole directly in the middle of the cap, and the easiest way to do that is to just put the cap in the lathe, turn it on, and feed in a drill bit. There we go. We have a direct hole directly in the middle, and it's just so much easier than trying to figure out where it is. Now we'll enlarge that hole to get to the right size with a step drill, but you can see that's directly in the middle. Now that's the step drill. We're going to enlarge that hole a little bit. Okay, now here we go. We drilled that nice hole, nice and smooth here, but you're always going to have a little burr in the inside. And to take care of that burr, you just take a hand countersink and you run it here. Again, this is sheet metal. It's nothing hard to just run a few times until that's nice and smooth on both sides. Now when we pass this through here, look at that. And then we're just going to put the nut there. Beautiful. Now we don't need that long, and we just needed a piece of this, so we cut this off here. And I want you to show you something that when you cut this using the hacksaw, you're going to have some burrs in here. You know, this is just typical. Now it's very important that you take the extra time to countersink. Use your hand countersink, go in there, and you want the end to look like, let me see the end that I did here. This is the one I did. And you want the end, you see how we countersunk? It's all nice and smooth. Then we took it to the wire brush and the file. I mean, that's what you want, because the wires are going to come out of here, and you don't want them getting abraded by that edge over there. But, you know, this is the way it comes from the factory, very smooth, and this is the way yours should be too. Never, ever have a sharp edge like this next to wire. See, we're getting ready for assembly, and you can see what we did. We put the socket here, put that post through. There's a nut that holds the cap onto here, and we had to use a recess here using a Forstner bit, and then we'll put this on here. We have a nice tight fit with this here. That'll go in here. We drill 2 holes that we're going to put set screws so to hold that from spinning, and then this goes on here, and we'll put the nut on there, and everything looks good. Now it only takes a couple seconds extra to solder these connections, and you know, that's the way to go. But the main thing is to remember to put the heat shrink on before you solder it, and also to pass it through the lamp with a strain relief if you're going to have a strain relief on here, which we are here. And then I'll have a little panel on the bottom later on. But I'm going to heat shrink these coatings now that this is all dry, fold it up. Connections are all heat shrink now, and I will tape this down. I put tape in here. There should be a little plastic insert, but I don't have one. So, and this is a strain relief, and all that will be buttoned down nice, and we're good to go. Let's see what it looks like. By the way, I found this cord. It was on an old fan when I was taking my walks. I cut the cords off, so again, this project only cost me about $1 for the socket. Let's plug it in, see if it works. And yeah, there we go. We have light. Pretty cool looking light. And let's maybe we'll stain the base. Next up, Joe from Joe's shop was nice enough, along with the swag, he sent a couple of tools along, and he sent this beautiful little drill here. This is an interesting drill. We'll tackle this on another episode, but you could see here, this is definitely, it's beautiful, but it's definitely a project. I'm going to have to let this one soak before I can even, because it's all frozen and everything, but really cool. Another thing he sent was this really interesting little box ruler. You can see it's as big as my finger. And look at this. I can get this to open up here. This will slide out, you see? But I cannot get it to open. It will not open. So let's see what we can do as far as putting a little 50-50 acetone and automatic transmission fluid. See if we can loosen up that joint, because according to this joint, this should swivel out. It should pull apart. This should come up like this. So let's give it a shot. Okay, now this was really frozen shut. I'm sure Joe tried to pull it open or whatever, but it was really frozen. So what I did was, over here, it has some brass coverings around the edge. So I took a regular single edge razor blade, and I forced it in here after I applied a little bit of heat, and obviously the 50-50 to this side, but it wasn't budging. So I put the one razor blade like this, and then I took another razor blade and I put it in the other way like this, and rocked it back and forth until I could squeeze them both in there, and then twisted it apart and it popped open. But you know what was holding this shut? It wasn't the hinge. It was this pin that was full of corrosion. I scraped it off, but in that hole. So that's what was holding this closed. It wasn't the hinge. So now we're going to clean this up. The 50-50 acetone and ATF works really good to clean it up. So we're going to just continue with that. And I've been doing a little bit of here with some paper towel. And let's see if we can get the numbers nice and sharp. Now, the funny thing is, Joe introduced us to the fiber wheel. And this one is just about worn out. You know, I can't get any more out of this. But it's good for small jobs like this. So we'll see what we can do and see if we can bring up some of this brass to get it back to get some of the tarnish. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what this ruler looked like before we started. And we are calling this project done. Okay, first of all, what we're looking at here is a beautiful number 95 folding box ruler by Stevens & Company. Some people used to pronounce it Steffens, but it's Stevens & Company, and you can see how this works and what we did with it here. Let me show you how it opens up. It opens up like this here. Okay, in the middle, it hinges, and you have a beautiful 6-inch scale. Now you have additional scaling on here, and you can see here, this is 1 inch, 2 inch, but you could see that this will open up here and give you an additional way to read it. There's also markings on the back here that you could read it from the back. This is, you see 132. I believe that was the production mod, you know, when they made this, so that and you could see 132 on here, so that all the pieces stayed together. That's how precision that these were made. And you can see the cleaning up we did. We did this with a lemon oil and carnauba wax, and just cleaned up the inside here. But you know, these will always tarnish in time, you know, and give a patina, but which is nothing but tarnish. You could see the old-time font. Can you see that too? Look at that beautiful too, huh? And that one. So let me tell you a little bit about this ruler, which was, I looked it up to do a little history on it. Stevens & Company was established by Delos Stevens in 1832. Now, he made rulers, box rulers, and from 1859 to 1889, the rulers he made was marked Stevens & Company. Now, by 1889, he merged with Chaplin, and then all the rulers after that were marked Chaplin and Stevens Company. So this is pre-1889. They're quite collectible, quite valuable. The last one I saw here sold at Buy It Now for $89. I don't know what the condition was, but this one looks in really nice shape, you know. But again, you know, obviously collectors aren't too crazy about cleaned articles, but this just looks so pretty, doesn't it? You know, no metal was taken off, no grinding, just a little buffing on here, and it's just a beautiful little scale. Joe, thanks so much. This is, you know, this means more to me because it came from Joe, and I think it was from his grandfather's shop, which makes it even more interesting, because anything that came from there is really, to me, I just love that place. But look at the writing, everything came out nice. That teak, that lemon oil comes out really good, polishes everything up, and it works. There's no slop in it. Beautiful. Imagine 100 and something years old and still looks like this. Joe, thanks so much. And we're calling this done. Looks good. Everything came out nice. Put a little bottom backing in here, you could see. A little wood on the bottom, so everything's nice and neat. This unscrews. You could see if you have to have any access, or you can change the bulbs and put a different bulb in. But it looks pretty decent. This is the actual bulb that didn't break. This is one of the unbroken ones, so that's what it looked like before. So if I ever had to, I can always put one of these back in there if this one ever did burn out. But Nice little unit, and I can't believe how bright these things are. Only 1 watt, and they seem to do a nice job. And again, you know, this will be a nice little accent lamp that I can put anywhere, and I can also hang it upside down and hang it that way like a ceiling fixture. I can just so the only thing left to do is put one of them heavy-duty inline switches in. We'll order one of those up, put those in, and I'm good to go. In closing, just want to say thanks again, Joe, for that beautiful ruler, and we'll get to that drill in the future. And I hope you all have a nice weekend. Take care now. Bye-bye. I'm always amazed at how much light just 1 watt with these new LEDs can throw off. Just 1 watt. It's amazing thinking about how many watts we used to use years ago.